Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
And joining us once again to help us with Wheel of Time is Lore Master Kevin.
Kevin!
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It's going all right, Kevin. I'm feeling a little bad about myself right now because I am a terrible, terrible podcast owner. I had something that I wanted to say last week, and it completely slipped my mind because I didn't write it down. But last episode we did, where we were talking about, what was that, Wheel of Time, episodes 4 and 5?
Yeah.
That, babe, was our 250th episode.
What the?
That's a good
Shut
number.
the front door.
I know. So this is 251. Now I'm just mad at myself.
Well, I mean, what's the real difference between 250 and 200? It's just...
One.
Mm-hmm. That is the real difference.
But 250 is such a great number. You know, we should do maybe a bigger celebration at 300.
I can't believe that many. Are we crazy?
Well, you are.
Yeah.
Now, is that between all your podcasts or just Pot of Thrones?
No, that's just Pot of Thrones. The Kid Free Weekend is not
How many
active.
did we do there, though?
I think we were just shy of 70.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I love the concept of the Kid Free Weekend podcast, though.
I like it too, and I really miss doing it. Just like sort of everything.
Well, this is where
Yes.
like we should be podcasting on Kid Free Weekend rather than Pot of Thrones, because this is, you know what I mean?
Like we never should have started Pot of Thrones.
Well, I mean, it's not. We're talking about Wheel of Time.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because it's not.
We should be podcasting over there. That's where we were supposed to do those things, but you just abandoned it.
That's what it was. I just what?
Abandoned it.
It's mean.
Well, it's true. You made it.
He
feel
went
like
out for
the
cigarettes
stepchild.
and never came
Babe?
back to it.
Babe, I would be happy to do 2 full
Okay, sweetheart.
podcasts with you.
What I'm saying is this content that we're talking about right now belongs there.
He did. He told Pot. He told his Kids Free Weekend podcast, "I'm going for cigarettes."
Yes, I'm a bad podcast host and a bad podcast parent. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
This is the place where we talk about all the nerdy shit. It started with
No,
like
it was
Westworld.
there. That's what it was.
Well, we talked about other stuff there too. We talked about politics. We talked about marijuana laws. We talked about a wide variety of things over there on the Kid Free Weekend, which I would be happy to get back to anytime you're ready. But I feel like life has
We're
not
doing
given
it right now.
You want to talk politics for a while?
No, I
Is
don't.
that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
I would not.
Kevin doesn't want in on that conversation.
Well, nobody really wants in on that anymore.
Look, anyway, in the place where we talk about epic fantasy and other related efforts,
Which would be over there.
Pot of Thrones. We've hit 251 episodes. So congratulations, I guess, to us. Thanks for being there with me, babe.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Even if it's an unwilling participant. You know, I have to chain her down to do these podcasts, Kevin.
Pretty much.
Well, just there's other reasons I chained my wife down.
Whoa.
No, that Jennifer's perfectly ready and willing for.
What?
It's the podcasting. The podcasting lesson.
Okay, what are we talking about today?
Okay, well, look, so we always do Game of Thrones headlines first. And I had some stuff open. Like, for instance, they hired a writer to officially start writing the Dunk and Egg spinoff series, that Game of Thrones thing. But the only thing I can keep thinking about is some big news that came across my face about a week and a half ago, which is my daughter, 18, started watching Game of Thrones. It's pretty awesome. She said,
I think. I'm not sure.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Well, she's an adult.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt her, right?
Okay.
But she texted me one day and she said, oh, where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay, see, this is why I'm bad. Oh, here we go. She texts me one day and says, "Father, I've made a terrible, terrible mistake. I've started watching Game of Thrones and I hate it. I feel like I'm in an abusive relationship with the show. It's horrible and only makes me upset, but I keep coming back for more. Does that sound like anyone we know, babe?
Mm-hmm.
That's Jennifer in a nutshell, and probably a lot of other Game of Thrones viewers. Did you ever feel that way, Kevin?
I did when Oberyn died. I was like, why I watch this? I loved him.
God, he's the best. She just met him.
Oh my
and
goodness.
She recognized, Pedro Pascal from other stuff. And then she's like, what's he doing in this show? So yeah, she just met Oberyn Martell, and I'm a little bit afraid.
Yes, I put the book down for a couple weeks after that.
Oh yeah, and we're just talking about the books there, because he met pretty much exactly the same fate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So she had just been finishing season 1. She says, I'm very mad because Ned Stark just got killed, and he was one of the very few characters I kind of liked. And then she finally got through episode 10, and she was very excited that the baby dragons are born, and she loves Daenerys. That is far and away her favorite character, but Arya's not bad.
Okay, well, you should have her come on the podcast. That would be Pot of Thrones.
It would be Pot of Thrones centric if my daughter came on as a guest, yes. But do you think she's going to? You know her.
No, but maybe. You never know.
I would love to hear that one. Hearing a new person who's watching it for the first time, what they're thinking.
God, fuck. I should have secretly recorded my conversation with her this morning, because she took me through, like, I just kind of asked her, like, so what's going on in the show right now? And an hour later, she was done. Like, we were done kind of with our back and forth. But she did say, and this worries me a little bit, she said she almost gave up the show the time, I think it was during Blackwater, the Battle of Blackwater.
That's a really good episode.
Where Sansa almost got raped, and then the Hound saved her.
Oh.
And she's telling me this, and the only thing in my head is Ramsay Bolton and their wedding night.
Mm-hmm.
So that worries me. I don't want her to lose the show then.
Not about Cersei and Jaime on, Joffrey's grave or coffin.
You come to expect that of them, though.
Well, yeah, she's seriously grossed out by them. She said she was starting to like Jaime as a character, and Brienne of Tarth was clearly good for him. But then he got back to King's Landing, and almost immediately, is like back fucking Cersei, and she was just seriously grossed out.
Oh my gosh.
But right now, Joffrey's still alive. Joffrey's alive. He's engaged to Marjorie. Sansa has been forced to marry Tyrion. It just takes me back in such wonderful ways. Just the majesty of it all. And listening to her tell it as someone who doesn't know what's going to happen next is pretty awesome, I gotta say. She said she kind of saw the Red Wedding coming, because the band started playing that one song, which I was impressed by. I don't think I recognized that they were playing the Rains of Castamere the first time around. But she said she noticed it, and then things seemed kind of off. And of course, Walder Frey's going to do something terrible. So she said she kind of saw that coming, and I think that was the big one. But yeah, we talked about Dario Naharis and the change of actors. We talked about the Unsullied and all the cool things Daenerys is doing right now. And we talked about Jon Snow. He already met Ygritte, and they fell in love, but then he got away. It was just a fantastic morning. My daughter just came home from her first semester at college, and she's Game of Thrones nerd now.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're so proud.
I am proud.
I'm proud.
I was never going to be able to force her to watch that. And it's not a show I could watch with her. There's way too much sex. It's just
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can't do that. But I'm glad she found it on her own. So very exciting. That's my personal Game of Thrones headline.
Good job.
And just a quick thing before we dive into the Wheel of Time. The Witcher Season 2 came out just 2 days before we sat down to record this. So I have not watched it all yet. Kevin?
I have not watched it all either. I've watched about 3 episodes. Mm-hmm. And I was saying how good it looks this year.
Yes.
Like it is fantastic looking on the screen.
I wonder if they got an expanded budget. I would
They've
think
had
they
to
must
have because
right?
that like everything looks better.
So we're gonna come back. Jennifer and I are gonna watch these episodes, I'm sure, pretty quickly over the next 2 or 3 days, and then we'll just come back to do a quick here's what we thought initially. But as soon as there's a lull in all of the other shows that we're following and talking about, then I think that will merit a deep dive into The Witcher season 2. Yeah, really pick them apart episode by episode. Yeah. But if you have been on the fence about The Witcher, I will say this. The very first episode of season 2 features Tormund Giantsbane himself.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And you even, not only, okay. No, wait. No, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's really him. And you can hear it in his voice, you can see it in his eyes, but he doesn't really look like the Tormund Giantsbane that you know.
Well, he's not.
Well, okay. we did talk about it as casting news a long time ago that he was going to be playing a very beastly character.
Mm-hmm.
So there is, so basically, full prosthetics and everything, or maybe it's CGI. I'm honestly not sure.
They've done a lot of stuff with practical and CGI. It's hard to tell, but it looks really good.
It could be a mix, yeah. So he has tusks. He's got a lot of hair all over him, but it's Tormund, and it's awesome.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. So make sure to check that out. We're going to be talking about that in much more detail in the coming days and months, I'm sure. So stay tuned for that. All right, you guys, you ready to talk about the Wheel of Time?
Red Day.
Yeah.
Red Day. Okay, let me grab my notes here. Stupid Face ID. All right, there we go. We're going to be talking about episodes 6 and 7 today. I think the 2 episodes per podcast has been working out well for us, but the next time it's only going to be episode 8, the season finale.
Wow.
But
we only did one episode. We only did one for episode 1. I'm going to guess there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about in episode 8.
Yes, I suspect episode 8 should be jam-packed. I wonder, I don't know how the book ends, but the book is called The Eye of the World, right?
Yes.
The first book. So that implies that some or all of our characters are going to make it to the Eye of the World. And if that's going to happen, and they're not there yet, I feel like the final episode is going to be long.
Well, I can tell you that you can't judge anything by the book because they took there's a book called New Spring, which is before the first book. They've kind of combined that. They've kind of combined elements of book 2 because you don't really get to the tower until book 2. So there's just a bunch of stuff they combined. So it's hard to tell based on the books, but yeah.
Okay.
I would guess there's some of them get there to the Eye of the World.
Well, that's definitely where they're heading. But first, we're going to talk about Wheel of Time, Season 1, Episode 6, The Flame of Tar Valon. Now, right at the top of my notes, because I think it was just because something in the episode, the 2 sentences that they show you just before you're about to hit play, it was talking about the Amerlin seat. And with all the stuff that was happening with Leandrin and that the green lady that was saying that Moraine should challenge. I'm sorry?
Karini?
No, the other one. The one that was hanging out in Moraine's bedroom with her. But there's this whole thing very political or you should challenge for the seat, which might involve magic combat or a test of intelligence. I don't know. But the first, right at the top of the notes, I wrote prediction: someone is going to murder the Amerlin seat. I was wrong.
Well,
but I just wanted to fess up to that. It could still happen, but I thought in this episode there's going to be either a stabbing or a magicking or something. Someone's going to take her out because everybody wants power. But okay, so this episode starts with we meet Swan. Am I saying that right, Kevin?
Yep.
Okay. Young Swan and her papa, they're in a place called Tyr, I guess.
Hey, let me ask you something. When you first watched the episode, did you realize that he was missing a hand?
Not at first.
Okay.
Not until she started undoing knots for him. And there was something interesting about her, too. I'm like, why are we starting on a little girl? But as soon as she started channeling, I was like, oh, this is probably a backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't take long to figure that out. And it's one of those things where I do wonder if the show intended for us to figure it out quickly or not. But It is what it is.
I don't know. I think they meant for you to figure out like right away because of the tattoos. They put a little girl, and then you see her present day having the tattoos.
Oh yeah, well, as soon as we saw her, for sure. I just wasn't sure if
Yeah.
we were supposed to figure it out during this scene as it was happening. But
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you were. No,
It was-
I think you're supposed to.
okay,
I think the important part of that scene is what like you get to see what other cities and other areas think of Aes Sedai. Like
Mm.
the tier, they don't really like them, and you could tell because of what happens next.
Well, they didn't really make it clear what happens next, but we see her channeling. She's helping her dad do his fishing because he can't do knots very well with one hand, which it turns out is what he's got going on. So she's undoing knots with channeling. So that's kind of cool. But he says like her powers are growing, and he's mad at her for kind of doing it out in the open on a boat. They're not supposed to be doing, don't let anyone see. But it didn't look like anyone was around. And then next thing you know, their house has been burned down. So you're saying, well, there was like a strange mark, but they didn't tell us what it was. Do you know what it was?
Yeah, but I'm gonna leave it alone because it's the same mark you asked me about early on. I'm just ignoring it for now.
Oh, God damn it!
Figure
Thanks,
it out,
Kevin.
It's important.
So
it's basically it's a mark they put on everyone's. It's a mark they put on anyone who can channel house in the tier, the city of Tyr.
Okay,
it's a dragon fang, basically.
Well, did we see the city of Tyr before?
No. This was the first time you saw the city of Tyr.
Okay,
it's a seaport, like really far. And I sent you an email. Did you get the email?
I
did.
I haven't gotten very far with
it. It's at the bottom of the map. Okay. So it's at the bottom of the map. So yeah,
I don't think I can.
It's also one of the oldest cities in the world. Yeah, it's also one of the oldest cities in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I guess people in Tyr burned down their house. So now Dad doesn't have anywhere to live, and the solution to that is to put his daughter on a boat and float her down the river.
Well, they were doing it because of her. They were.
Yeah,
they basically
he wants her to be safe.
Well, I know, but where's he gonna live? He should have gotten in the boat with her.
I know. He should have been her ward.
Right. Well, I get you could learn how to fight with one hand. There's no reason why you can't.
Sure.
Jamie did.
Jamie did. Right. But anyway, he's sending her to the White Tower. I'm sure he lived out his life, hopefully in peace, and he's probably not with us anymore. But that and he named her right at the end. He said her name is Swan Sanche, daughter of the river.
Yep.
Cool. So we got some backstory. All right, the rest of the episode, because we're about to meet the same Swan. Moraine and the others are dressed up all fancy because they're about to go meet the Amerlin Seat. And then, so they're in this big hall, and then Logain is brought in.
Well,
what?
Real fast, there's a lot of exposition that they do when they show the overhead. If you took a look and you saw all 7 colors there. You saw the red, gray, yellow, blue, white, brown, and blue. Oh, I said blue again. Green is what I meant. The red, gray, yellow, blue, white, brown, and green.
I did not notice all of those colors.
Also, there was 3 chairs each, so you understand that they send 3 delegates from each Aja. So the 3 chairs, and if you had looked and saw it, the green was missing a chair, which would have told you Karini was one of the people they send. It's usually the most powerful people in the Aja they send up there.
Wow. Okay.
Or if you've been gone for a long time. And then the Emerald, when she sat down, you saw she didn't have her own color. If you looked on her shoulder, she had like all the colors.
On her shoulder?
Like she had little shoulder pads.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Collar, like around her collar.
Okay. Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch again. I always have to go back. And
she gets her own little like barb or whatever you call announces. That person that was banging the gavel or banging the whatever she had in her hand, the staff.
Yes,
that's like they call a keeper, and they and she comes from the same Aja as the Amaran that you saw. So.
She had sort of a look about her. She looked like she was either pissed a lot or jealous or something. Like I don't know, there was something funny about her.
She fit the part. Trust me.
Okay. Maybe we'll learn more about her some other time.
Yep.
But they bring in Logain, and he is chained up, and I cannot figure out why. I mean, do you have to add insult to injury at this point? He has no powers.
And if he did, I mean, the chain wouldn't really matter. They would still have to shield him.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, why are they doing this? I think it's just for our sake, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Logain says that people from the White Tower, or people far from the White Tower, think the Aes Sedai are weak. And that's why I guess he felt like he should just take over. Because the Aes Sedai aren't really offering the world much of anything. But what's done is done. He's been gentle. There's nothing we can really do to take that back. So he begs for death. But the Amyrlin Seat says, nope, you're just going to have to live with this forever. And he screams.
Jennifer, did you notice when they were talking to the look that Leandrin gave?
No.
She just looked like she really, really hated men, like, because he was just talking.
Well, yeah, she does hate men for sure.
She was about to have a fit because when she unchained him, she was like, I'm probably going to kill him right here if you take him out of
the... So yeah, Logain's done. Are we going to see him again someday, Kevin, or is that a spoiler? Maybe I shouldn't ask. But I feel like his.
I mean, he's not dead yet, so
right.
I mean, at the very least, you have to see him die, right?
Yeah, he's gotta die for us someday. He's going to be back. And he's going to cause trouble. I'm sure of it. So now that he's done, it's time for the scoldings of the Amyrlin Seat because Logain deserved a fair trial. Alana, that must be the green Aes Sedai, right? So she defends Leandrin because Leandrin was the one that sort of made the call on let's all band together and gentle this guy. And Moraine also has Leandrin's back, which was surprising, maybe. I don't know.
But it was the truth.
But it was, oh, right, you can't lie. Yeah. So Leandrin's going to have to do some kind of penance. We haven't decided what yet. And also Moraine, because I don't know. What was the deal? Why is Moraine the one that's in trouble for this? I don't know.
Because she refused to tell what she was doing.
Well, so she wouldn't be in trouble if not. I thought she was in trouble for some part. Like Leandrin was trying to deflect some blame onto her.
Well, she didn't talk about Nynaeve's power, and she kind of kept what she was doing a secret. So Leandrin was kind of like ask her what she was doing, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, no, I can't tell you.
Right, and I thought that was interesting with the whole lying thing. So the Amyrlin Seat says, "What have you been doing for 2 years?" And Moraine says that she quote cannot say what she's been doing.
Well, because she was told not to say. So that's why, not to say out in public.
Oh, by the Amyrlin Seat? Or
well, I mean, we find that out later, right?
Right, well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking now. Like, whoa, what a messy little setup that was. Moraine's just being screwed from all sides. Oh, I feel bad
Some
for
people
Moraine.
like
that. The Amyrlin Seat, however, at least publicly, is really pissed off at Moraine and says, you're going to learn your place, lady. This is my world, is what she said.
Right.
Huh. And the penance will be decided tomorrow.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing about the politics in that. Did you see how like everyone gasped when Leandrin did something wrong by like mentioning the Amyrlin's former color? She's like, you used to be blue, maybe you're always a blue, and everyone was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was even worse when the Amyrlin said Moraine's full like name, like what she was before she became, Aes Sedai.
That's bad form. See, I wouldn't have really thought to latch onto that.
Yeah, I mean that was like, it was like even more insulting than when she mentioned that she was formerly blue. Like there was like gasp through the people. So.
Well, I know everyone calls her Moraine Sedai, I guess, once you're an Aes Sedai,
yeah, but
you all have the last
like,
name.
When she went through her whole entire, what her former name was, that was the problem.
Well, yeah, that's just interesting. I didn't know that was a faux pas.
It is.
Or an insult.
Just like mentioning the Amyrlin's former color was a faux pas.
Gotcha. Well, that's got to really suck to be the Amyrlin Seat then, because at least Moraine still has her first name. The Amyrlin Seat's name is just the seat. That sucks.
But she's like the all powerful Oz now. She's
Well, what do they do in private? Well, let's talk about what they do in private soon, because that does raise some real serious problems. Okay, so penance will be decided tomorrow. They adjourn. Leandrin and Moraine scowl at each other in a hallway, which gave me real like Harry Potter, Draco Malfoy vibes. Whatever.
Yeah, that's what Leandrin reminds me of. Draco.
Oh, yeah, totally. She's totally the Draco Malfoy of this whole situation. She's not, like, Draco Malfoy was always a dick and did a lot of bad things, but there was, like, he wasn't necessarily on the wrong side of all things by the end of it, right? And Leandrin's probably somewhere in there, too. She wants the world to be a better place. She just is full of hatred.
Mm-hmm.
I took a note, and I don't really remember much of the surrounding stuff. It's just that Moraine was having tea, and in the background while she's having tea, we see Loyal walk by with a yellow Aja Aes Sedai. I don't know. I just thought that was noteworthy, but whatever. But then Lan shows up. Well, maybe that was Loyal coming to talk to Lan, and maybe a yellow Aja was leading him. Because then Lan says, "Hey, I found Matt and Rand." And they go over to the hotel room, and Matt looks like shit. Mm-hmm. Oh, to be the makeup artist on that show, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And he's not happy to see Moraine because he knows what Aes Sedai do to people like him. But we don't really know what Matt is yet. He hasn't actually shown any channeling. Rand is going to fight to the death, so Lan has to take him down. No problem. Rand's not that tough. And then Matt comes at Moraine with his dagger. And Moraine, like, telekinesis that away from Matt and then makes him barf up all his corruption into her own mouth. Would you do that, babe, to save someone?
Barf into my own mouth?
Well, he barfed up his darkness, and it went right onto her face. Nah?
Would I do that to save someone?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. And then she manages to get it from her face back into the knife. And that subplot is over? Question mark? But she gets all the corruption back to the knife. She's very tired. Rand is like, "Oh yeah, thanks, lady." Rand, I guess, maybe kind of gets it better now. Like, he just saw what she did. He said he saw the darkness moving over her, which I thought was noteworthy in that whole, like, it's not a channeling thing, it's something else. But Matt can never, ever, 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 ever touch that dagger again, or his soul might be lost for all of eternity.
Yep.
The
darkness will swallow him.
So there's that. All right. Nynaeve is kind of mad. Let's see. Nynaeve shows up at the hotel. She's mad at Moraine for being there, but then Moraine's mad at her for knowing that Matt was there and needed help and not calling Moraine for help. I don't know. It's a whole thing. They're just mad at each other. Mm-hmm. And then we see our first boobs of the show. Moraine goes back to the tower to take a bath, as you would if someone just barfed all up in your mouth. Mm-hmm. And we saw our first boobs. It wasn't Moraine's boobs, but someone's boobs. And then we meet a blue Aja. So Aja is the color? I thought, for a second, I thought Aja was like the head of that color.
No, it's what they call their faction of, they're blue.
Good. All right, just making sure I had that right. So we meet Maigon. She's another blue Aja Aes Sedai who also is not happy with how secretive Moraine is being. So these guys don't even know what each other are doing. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So
because the blue member are very eyes. They're the spies. They're the one who they have the big network. They do the righteous causes, and stuff like that. But they have the biggest eyes and ears network. They call it.
Mm. Okay. So I guess Maigon is in charge or something. She at least outranks Moraine because she says Moraine has to stay put for a while so the other blues can do their work, because you always have to have someone at the tower. Is that the idea?
I guess.
They can't just all go out into the world. So Moraine's been grounded, basically. Okay. Then someone found Aguain and Perrin. They've turned up in town. So that's good news. And they want to know where Rand and Matt are, but Moraine is not willing to share that information right now. Actually, wait a second. Did she lie? Okay, I wrote down this as a quote.
Yes.
I have people watching for their arrival, but I have it on good authority that they're alive.
That's not really a lie, no.
But they've already arrived.
She does have people watching. She didn't say they didn't arrive. She said she had people watching.
Oh, that Moraine.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you... I guess practice is how you think of something like that quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a good authority they're alive, or well, I mean, she actually saw them, so she knows. By the way, the leader of the Blue Lodge is called, or Aja is called the First Selector. Each one has like a different name, just so you know.
Does that
I don't think it really
so
matters.
like they don't have real names either? Like you're just called the
No,
first
they have
selector?
real names. They have real names. It's just that if you're the leader of different ones, you have different titles.
Okay. Well, as long as it's a title and not your actual name, like the Amerlin seat, I'm okay with
No,
it.
no, she definitely have a name.
So last time we saw Aguain and Perrin, they had their adventure with the White Cloaks. Perrin's back is all fucked up, and Aguain has done some more channeling, whatever. But Moraine had already heard about the White Cloaks because she knows everything. But Aguain did surprise Moraine with that ring collection that she brought home, so I thought that was nice. And then maybe the stupidest line of this episode was Aguain declaring Valda dead. She said, we killed that guy. We're not going to have to worry about him anymore. We all know that's bullshit, right? He got stabbed in the shoulder. There were wolves outside his tent. He's coming back.
There's no way. I mean, yeah, he's definitely coming back.
He's definitely coming back. But Aguain did notice the golden eyes that Perrin started sprouting, which I did not get that impression last episode. I didn't think she actually saw that happening, but she did. And she compared them to wolf eyes, so we're really getting a clear picture of what his, I guess, latent powers are. But Moraine says to keep that shit buttoned up. Do not tell anyone, because a boy who can do magic is a bad boy. And he's going to be in trouble.
And she also mentions that they don't have any clue what the powers of the dragon is going to be.
Well, okay. So
it could manifest as someone who can talk to wolves, or it could manifest a different way.
But the dragon would perhaps, with some training, I don't know, maybe it's natural, maybe it's training, but he would be able to do the kinds of channeling that the other Aes Sedai can do, right? Or that
no, I mean, we talked about this with Brigetti, the girl who came back. She comes back and like she always has like the same story, but she has different ways. I mean, she used the bow and arrow, but you know, maybe she does this way, maybe she does this way. So I mean, to them, they don't really know how the dragon's going to manifest. I mean, we know, but I mean, they don't really know.
I don't feel like I know. Do you know? Well, you do know. Never mind.
I'm saying like you don't know in the show. They act like they don't know like how it's going to manifest, but I'm pretty sure like there was no question about it in the book. So I think this is all show invented, which is cool because it's a good thing to talk about.
Oh, here's a question I had for you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Logain, a couple episodes ago, whatever, talked about how he could hear the voices of thousands and thousands of previous dragons, right?
Yep.
And the wheel of time keeps on turning. It's been going and going and going and keeps spitting souls back out. So have there really been thousands of dragons across thousands of generations, or more than thousands of generations?
I mean, it has. If it just turns and you just keep living the ages over, I mean, yeah, there could have been. Well, there's no end, there's no beginning.
Well, what's interesting about that is that, and I feel this way about a lot of epic fantasy, but here we seem to be talking about extremely long spans of time, is a lack of technological advancement. Or
post-apocalypto.
When the dragon broke the world. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. When the dragon broke the world, maybe the world was something way more advanced than it is now, which is something that comes up. I think
that's a huge theme in the books.
Is it?
Like you see visions and stuff like that, and you try to decide what you're seeing. Are you seeing the past, or are you seeing the future?
They don't necessarily make it clear.
Huh? It does make it a little more clear in the books.
Well, I mean, but is it like in the books? Is it really like there's been an apocalypse and there used to be the like cars
no, it's like a vision where they talk about flying machines or something, and they don't know, is it the future, is it the past type of thing.
Well, okay, so all right, like I don't think that was something that our proto fantasy Lord of the Rings ever did, but the one that really comes to mind more than anything is the Shannara books, where within the first 2 or 3 books of that series, you get hard evidence that there was advanced technology and advanced civilizations in this world once upon a time, and some bad thing happened, and they got sent back to the Dark Ages, and then magic started happening too, like, which could just be like freaking X-Men style mutations for all we know, but like from radiation or something, I don't know. but there was a world like ours, and then it got destroyed, and the fantasy world of the Shannara series was built on top of that. So that, when I think about thousands and thousands of dragons and the fact that we're in a fantasy world, that's where my head started going, was I wonder if they've really been in a cycle of advancement and then decline, like utter decline. You're not going to say
that does.
Okay.
No, I'm not. It's. I'm telling you, it's like a theme of some of like one of the later books. So we'll stick. Okay. Hopefully, we'll get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Next up. Moraine's gonna call for Aguain the next day or whatever. So that night, Lan comes in and introduces a new concept to us. Comes to Moraine's bedroom and says, "You masked our bond." Which clearly means, like, I can't feel what you're feeling anymore. I can't sense where you are anymore. I'm sure that's a very simple magic that Aes Sedai learned. And that all comes to, well, she says, go keep track of the kids. I'm going alone or whatever. And then Lan says, "Give her my love." And he leaves. I wasn't sure what to expect. I guess maybe I'm dumb. Babe, did you see this coming?
No.
Okay. So she opens up a portal and it goes to the Amarylline seat.
Yep.
And it turns
Well, she didn't open a portal. She opened up that thing in her room.
Well, that was did she just...
She just, like, walked through a wall.
Well, yeah, but unless the Amarylline seat's bedroom is on the other side.
Right. It's like
well, the Amarylline seat has one in her room, too. You can see it behind her when she's talking to Nynaeve.
Okay. So it's like a magic mirror kind of thing. All right.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. We talked about the Tar Ingrio. It's just something like that.
Yeah, magic artifacts.
Yeah.
Cool special thing. All right. So then I wrote down, oh, wait, they're in cahoots. And then ... and maybe lovers. And then I wrote, yep. So that was kind of awesome, I guess. Moraine got some pleasure in done to her. She took charge of that situation, which I was impressed with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also
hot.
Mm-hmm. But this is where I was thinking before. So now in the throes of passion, the Amarylline Sea can go like, oh, Moraine, I love you. But what does Moraine say? Oh, seat. Oh, seat. Do it to me, seat. That's just not sexy. She deserves a real name.
I'm sure she uses her name during that time.
Well, I hope so.
She does use it later. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll talk about that when we get to the end of this episode. But I wanted to tell you, these books were written in the 80s, so any type of, relationship like that probably was not written out, and it wasn't in the books. It was not like completely like, was
it just kind of hinted at?
Yes, it was hinted at. They were considered what they call pillow friends.
What? That's not really a term, is it?
Yeah, that's the term in the book. Yes,
pillow friends.
And I don't think it was part of any of the books. I think it was part of New Spring, which was the prequel to everything.
Oh wow. Okay. So whoever wrote this is a lore master.
Yes.
Themselves. I mean, I've always known you're not the only one. There are others. All right. Well, cool. But the 80s, yeah, probably not the most progressive time. But
my 90s too. But yeah,
But they got it in there, so that's cool. So after the sex, they're having their pillow talk, as pillow friends do. And Moraine tells Amarylline that she found 5 potential dragons in the village, though Nynaeve is too old. So when we were talking about the 5 before, I think it was like that Dana dark friend girl, the barmaid. I think her name was Dana. Dara.
She was talking about Nynaeve, I think.
Well, because she mentioned 5. So everyone thinks Nynaeve could be the dragon, even though she's way too old.
Well, again, we're talking about prophecies, and we don't really know,
if they're just like the Bible.
I thought you would have really enjoyed it. They brought up your Power Ranger idea, that it could be all 5 of them.
Yeah. Was that Power Rangers or Captain Planet? Could be both.
Whatever one. A many-headed dragon.
The many-headed dragon. Right. So there's that. With our powers combined, we are Captain Dragon. Yeah. Anyway. And okay. So then one of them, I didn't write down who, says, if another sister finds out what we've been doing, we'll be stilled.
Mm.
Yes.
And that is different from gentling?
It's the exact same thing, but it's for women.
Really? We need a separate term for that?
Well, gentling for men is keeping. Remember, there's two sides of the power.
Gentling for men.
Gentling is, specific to men because that's their side of the power to take it from, and the stealing is for women because that side of the power they take it from. I mean, there's two sides of the power. Remember,
right? Two sides to every Schwartz. Fine, but
yeah.
I mean, it's like spaying and neutering. We could just say we sterilized our dogs.
Yeah,
but they have to be okay. Fine.
Yeah, it's just the same thing as gentling.
That's interesting.
All right. Look, the dragon's either going to defeat the Dark One or we're going to join them, and we're just going to have to see this through. That seems to be their general mood. The Amerlin's been having some dreams too, though, about the Dark One at the Eye of the World. He's weak, but he's getting stronger. I presume it's the same dude with glowing red eyes that we've been seeing in all the kids' dreams. But time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
And the Amerlin seat also says that if they go now, maybe they can defeat him before he gets too strong. But they don't know who to fling at him. Obviously they're just not sure who's who, which will be a big thing next episode. So Moraine says, "Look, I'm going to do this, but you're going to have to exile me as my penance, or else I'm going to be stuck in the tower."
Mm-hmm.
There you go. The next day, Lan and Moraine are talking about the kids. Leandrin is there, and she says she knows everything that they're up to, but Moraine shuts her down because apparently Leandrin's got a man on the side that she meets all the time in North Harbor, and that Leandrin just doesn't have a retort for that, which I really loved.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They meet up with Loyal. They need his help. Right. We get the whole penance thing. We're back in front of the Amerlin seat, and Nynaeve first. Nynaeve comes to the Amerlin seat's chamber hall, and then Moraine takes her to go meet Swan in person.
And Aguain too. They get to meet. Meet
Aguain,
up again.
right? And Egwene's clothing was very normal, whatever. I did note that Nynaeve was wearing both green and yellow, but just like Nynaeve is always in that outfit, and it's very almost monochromatic, so I don't know if that's indicative of anything.
It is actually. You'll figure it out.
All right. I'll figure
Remember,
it out. If wearing green is all it takes, then I think I figured it out already.
No. It's part of her. Remember, I told you this last episode. Part of her story is she can't decide which Aja she's going to join.
Oh, okay. Well,
so she's not sure there either. She's wearing green and yellow.
We'll get there over the seasons, I'm sure. Nynaeve is not very friendly to Swan, but Swan sort of gives them a good speech, says the two of you have been called to greatness. The wheel doesn't care if you're young or if you're afraid or what you want to do with your life or anything. When you're called, you're called. And Egwene's in. She says, "What do I need to do?" Egwene's got that plucky youthfulness that I guess Nynaeve, even though she looks very young, does not have. All right, so Moraine goes to get her punishment. Now we're back in public, in front of all the other Aes Sedai, and she gets her exile, and she has to swear her oath on the sacred oath rod. That took me. I did a double take there. I was like, wait, you swear your oath on the sacred oath rod? Come on.
That's the oath rod they use when they take their vows to not lie and not to harm another on those type of things.
That's fine. Just be more creative. I'm just saying.
Right. Could have been a sacred oath peach.
Well, that's a magical artifact that they've been using for millennial.
Well, or it could have been like the rod of, Annika of Nordhaven. I don't know. Like, it could have been something, but just the sacred oath rod. Come on. And you're making the Aes Sedai grab rods. They're not a male-centric organization. Come on. Anyway, so Moraine's out. She rides from the city. She meets up with Loyal, and then all the kids are there.
We got to talk about that oath a little bit. Well, when the Amarin gave the oath, she said, you vow to honor the Amarin seat. And When Moraine said the oath back to her, she said, I vow to follow Swan. She completely changed the wording.
Did she?
Yeah.
Fuck. Well, this is why we need you, Kevin. I did not notice that at all.
She changed the wording, and I'm sure it's going to matter.
Well, yeah, because if the Amerlin seat changes, then Moraine would be free from her oath, I guess.
Well, she still has to follow Suan, though.
Well, unless Swan's dead.
That's true. But I'm saying, like, I think that was the reason she did that.
No, it's very smart.
Yeah.
I assume Swan's going to die.
Well, I mean, I'm telling you that part where she like changed the using the oath rod to exile and stuff did not happen in the book, so I'm sure it's there for a reason.
Okay.
You know? But there is something like that in the book where they swear, where she says something instead of swearing to the Amarin.
Okay. Well, thanks for catching that, Kevin. That's interesting. All right, so everybody's together, but now Loyal has joined their party. Nynaeve is there. We got everybody. Everybody's together. And they go to a way. Oh, God, I didn't write it. Waygate? Is it
the way? It's a Waygate, yep.
Right, so they go to a Waygate, and Moraine opens up this gate using magic, and they're going to go into the Ways. And Nynaeve's like, what the fuck are the Ways? Because she's all of us. They're ancient.
You just made
what?
You just made every book reader really upset with you.
Why? By saying Nynaeve is all of us, or saying what the fuck are the Ways?
No, because they used the power to open the Waygate.
Oh, is that not what happens?
It actually happened in the show, yeah, but like it opens up a whole lot of issues later on. But
it does. I actually have notes about that in the next episode. Yeah. So
it's actually opened a different way, and it's really opened a different way in the show. And Moraine opens it that way in the book. Like it's opened a different way. In the book, she opens it a certain way, and then she used the power in this one.
Okay.
So it opens up a bunch of issues for other stuff. But I mean, hopefully they can handle it because we can talk about it with the next episode.
Well, right, because I have notes on that. But let's finish this one. So she says this is a pathway outside of time and space. It's going to take us to the eye of the world. I don't know who the dragon is, but we're all going to go and we're going to check this out. So we're going into the Ways, and everybody slowly ventures in. And then Matt was waiting at the back of the line, and he just like, all right, bye guys. You have fun. I'm going to go get a sandwich. And that's it. He's out.
Yep.
He's making it very hard to be likable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, him being like really upset and like an ornery and through that whole entire time period was because of the darkness he had going in him because of the dagger. I mean, he's a really jovial, nice guy throughout until he gets that dagger.
Seems like a troublemaker.
Well, I think he's that.
Well, they were all troublemakers.
Seems like a hooligan.
I'm sure they were all troublemakers.
All of the above. Well, hopefully Matt will be feeling better, if we ever see him again, wink, wink. But that's the end of episode 6.
I mean, you will never see that actor again.
What?
Why? Did the actor die?
No, the actor was replaced.
Oh.
What? Where did you hear that?
No, he was replaced right after COVID. I think it has something to do with not getting his shot or something, or maybe it's even something different.
Jesus.
Yeah, that actor, his name, he's not coming back.
Wow. Well, now I really don't like Matt. All right. Well, that'll be interesting. I was just talking about Dario Naharis. I was telling Sydney, he left because he wanted to go do a Transporter spin-off movie, which no one saw, and he gave up the role of Dario Naharis to do it.
Yeah, his name was Barney Harris, and he's not in any more episodes.
Fuck. All right. Well, Jesus, Barney. Okay. We're not going to see. I assume we're not going to see Matt in episode 8 then. One way.
I mean, you could possibly see him because he could have had like episodes that were stuff that was recorded ahead of time for episodes. But he was replaced by a actor named Donald Finn.
All right. This will be interesting. Okay. All
right.
I
was told that because Donald Finn was actually in The Witcher.
Oh, as who?
He played a guy called Nedley in the Four Marks episode.
Okay, never mind. That's too obscure. I try, but that's too obscure for me right now. Nedley. Oh my god, that's as bad as Eddard. Oh, that was one of my daughter's things. She's like, I just don't get why he's called Ned. Why not Ed? There's no N in his name. I said, well, I don't know. Why do you call people named Robert Bob? And she said, well, at least there's B's. You're just adding an extra B, but there's no N in Eddard. I said, I don't know. I'm sorry.
It was the second episode, by the way, of The Witcher. So,
well,
You ever go back and find them?
Someday I'll go back and read
Anyway, sorry, I just read this off.
When I see it though, maybe when my son's 16 or something, we'll watch The Witcher together. When I see him, I'll remember Nedley. I'll be like, that's the guy. Okay. Wheel of Time Season 1, Episode 7, The Dark Along the Ways. Now, this episode, a lot of shit happens. So let's do this, okay? Now, we start with a flashback, and then we come back to that flashback later. But let's just talk about that whole flashback.
That was pretty awesome. Jennifer needs to talk about that.
Lady.
I have to think she's been pregnant before. You think you could take on?
Okay, no, that's a good point. All right. So we have a pregnant lady running around killing a lot of people. Now, when you were on the verge of giving birth and or in labor, how much physical activity, especially running, stabbing, would you have been capable of?
Well, you don't know until you're in that situation because she's got her adrenaline going, you know?
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
So I think that somebody that is in labor could be pretty fierce, but in my circumstance, no way, no how. I was incapacitated, I would say. Really? Like, I wasn't even capable of... it's so painful. It's like my whole body was shaking.
Yeah, I mean, so is hers, it seems like. And she's like stopping the fight. I was impressed.
She is a badass.
Well, you got a couple minutes between contractions because the baby is not... Yeah.
Come on.
She's only 9 centimeters dilated or something.
Yeah, 3 or more minutes left for her labor.
But it was okay. So
actually, I think the only thing that was holding her baby in was her pants. Remember how she just ripped her pants
oh my
open?
God, you're right. You're right. He could have been crowning during all of that. Jesus. So we get a name if we pause the show. Apparently, her name is Tigraine Mantir.
Yep.
Or maybe it's something fancier like Montiar. Right. I don't know.
Montiel.
No,
just Tigraine Mantir. All right, so she's running and also pregnant. Yep. So I wrote down she's dressed like an Aielman, but of course that's exactly what she is. But she had the same, that same head and face covering that we saw in that cage. So like, good putting the show together, people. You gave us a little taste of an Aielman a few episodes ago, and now here it is. I mean, someone's really doing their homework on this show, and I appreciate that. It is noteworthy that she is at the foot of the same big volcano that Rand said, like, I feel like I've been on that volcano before, which doesn't make any sense if you know anything about babies, but whatever. Magic, I guess.
Well, he recognized it. And we talked about why someone might recognize that, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Apparently he was born there. So yeah, I wrote down, she's in labor, but also a tremendous badass. And that's the best way to sum it up. She kills like 5 or 6 dudes and just brutalizes them. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was awesome. The one dude with the cape, again, you shouldn't wear capes.
She grabs it.
Has no one learned anything from The Incredibles?
This was a really good fight scene.
No capes.
No capes. It's the first time I ever saw a pregnant woman like fighting like that. But like, I mean, even there was some good choreography too.
Yeah, the choreography was outstanding. I mean, the best this show's had to offer yet. I mean, Lan is cool, and he's really good with his sword, but this lady takes the cake. I love her so much. But eventually, there's just so many guys, and then she has a contraction in the middle of killing a dude, and then he manages to get a dagger into her. But she does still take him down. And then she starts giving birth. She tears her pants open, like you said. The baby is coming out, whether she likes it or not, and she's also dying. So the part of the flashback that we saw later, but let's just get it out of the way. She pops out a baby so there's a dude with a fucking sword all of a sudden, and sure enough, it's Tam Althor, Rand's quote unquote father. So she gives birth to Rand, pops him out in the snow, and then she dies. So Tam, who, despite being a career warrior, has a heart of gold, takes that baby and makes a run for it. And that's it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So that's her story.
Remember we talked when we first had our first episode, we talked about his fever dream he has on the way when he's getting, and this is what I was talking about, where he was talking about why he took the baby. And you get a little bit of that later on, where he said he's just so small, stuff like that.
I suppose the proper military thing would have been to just stab the baby in the head. Like, we would have seen that in Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, fucking that shit happened all the time.
Happened in The Witcher. They kill a baby in The Witcher, too.
Wait, I don't remember that. Where? What?
Remember she's burying her on the beach, talking about how you.
Oh, fuck! That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, that was in a. Yeah, that was. I mean, that wasn't an. Oh, wait, was that an intentional baby? That was an intentional baby kill. He was going for the baby, not for Yennefer.
Yep.
Shit, you're right. You are right. Hot damn. Okay, yeah. Well, Tam is the one guy that won't kill a baby. So congratulations to Tam. He is our hero now. Okay, so that's our flashback.
You saw his hair and Mark's sword too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's how. I mean, if you didn't know, it's another one of those things like, was I supposed to know or was I not supposed to know that this was going to be Rand's mom? Because from the second she took her mask off, I was like, oh, she's pregnant and she's got red hair. That's she's about to give birth to Rand. But I don't know, were you supposed to get that or not?
You were.
We were? Okay. And then the hair and sword shows up, and then you're like, well, yeah. But it is noteworthy, I guess, that Tam is not at all related to Rand, because that's something we didn't know. I think I said a couple episodes ago, well, I guess he had an Aielman mom, and they lived in the mountains, because no one could know that she was an Aielman, because everyone hates them for some reason.
Well, no, Mom didn't live there.
Right. He was wrong.
Well, now I know that, but we didn't really know that before.
And I didn't say anything. I let you go on.
Yes, thank you for that, Kevin. It's good of you not to spoil for us. Okay, so we go back to present day, and the kids are freaking out inside the Waygate, or inside the Ways, because Matt stayed behind. So this is where things get immediately fucking weird, because Loial says they can't reopen the Waygate because they can't use the one power inside the Ways.
Without attracting
Machin Shin.
The Black Wind, yeah.
Yes, the Black Wind. But that means if you don't want to attract the Black Wind, then you can't use the one power to get back out. But also he's kind of lying, because you could just open up the Waygate again and step out and go back later.
But then the Black Wind knows he'll be waiting there when you come back.
I guess. I'm maybe someday we'll learn more about Machin Shin, but
I mean, there's other ways to open the gate in the book. Like, in the book. I mean, they do actually. Moraine actually does use the one power in the book to open the gate, but she burns something, like burns it open, basically, where it stays open.
Oh. Uh-oh. Well, that seems like that would be bad, but it's already bad, as we're going to find out.
Yeah.
So as they sort of start walking, Lan and Moraine are talking about Matt, and Moraine says she knew Matt wasn't going to come, which is good, because we don't know if we can trust him. We got to keep him away from the Dark One, because he's got all this darkness in him now. Immediately, I'm writing down, it feels like a real Mines of Moria situation for you Lord of the Rings fans. But we learn that the Ways, well, it's sort of implied in Loial's own weird manner of speaking, but the Ways used to be Ogier territory in some fashion. It used to be green, and there were trees, and now it's dark.
Yes.
And stony. Lots of evenly spaced hexagonal stones.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't know what happened to it, right?
I'm sure it's because when the mattress, I can't say it, Black Wind showed up.
Oh, well, yeah, then where'd the Black Wind come from? I don't know. Hopefully that's a thing that we'll learn about someday. Okay, so then I thought this was very bad exposition, but whatever. They're walking through the darkness, and like 20 feet in front of their front torch, like where Lan is standing, Perrin's like, wait, there's something up there. And it's just it's a shiny stone in the darkness. And everyone's like, how did he see a shiny stone in the darkness? And he's like, I don't know how I saw that shiny stone in the darkness. It was bad. Like, we get it. He's got dog eyes. It's fine. You don't do that. It was so cheesy. But okay, it's something called the Guiding Stone, which appears to be like one of those mall, like you are here kind of maps that you see in the mall, except for getting through the Ways. But it's been badly damaged by claws or axes or something. Yep. And so we're going to have to make camp here in the darkness while Loial figures out where we should go. And also there's definitely something following us, and go to bed now.
Mm-hmm.
At least it wasn't Gollum or a Gollum-like creature. That would have been too much for me. I just would have had to shut the TV off. All right, so Aguain and Rand are snuggling. Perrin is watching them snuggle and looks upset. And Nynaeve notices that Perrin was noticing them and looking upset. So that's going to be a thing later. But then they're sleeping, and Aguain hears a noise. Instead of Lan, like, shouldn't Lan be keeping watch? Whatever. But a Trolloc comes at them out of nowhere, and someone channels it off the cliff and falls into the darkness. And we were supposed to think it was Aguain, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe it wasn't. Wink, wink. But now Mai Shin's going to come, so we're all in trouble. The Black Wind. And Loyal still doesn't know where to take him, so they're going to go to a different gate that he does know. It's like the next nearest gate. We got to get away from the Trollocs. We got to get away from the Black Wind. This is bad. So they start running through the darkness. Very, very, very Mines of Moria. And they get to a different way gate, but Mai Shin catches up to them, and he's like a flock of bats that starts filling their heads with bad thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And they're all having their bad, you're going to watch everyone die. You're going to fail everybody. You're going to get everyone killed. And Perrin's was like, you really wanted your wife to die because you love someone else. But if everything the Black Wind is saying is lies, then...
No, I mean, it's just telling you, your deepest fears.
Well, I guess, but... I look forward to finding out what
You can love
Perrin's
someone
really...
and then, question yourself whether you did or not.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a lot tamer wind than it is in the book, so that's cool.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it just eats you in the book. It just comes up on you and just like you're done. It catches
die?
you, you're dead. Yeah, it just consumes you.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
that's more like what we saw.
Acid.
That's what we saw at Shadar Goth, right?
Yep.
Is it the same
More like
thing?
that. I don't know if it's the same thing. It's more like that, though.
So here it just makes you sad.
Well, I mean, it gets in your head.
Okay.
Which I don't know which one's worse, though, like if you just straight up dead or if like you go through life with like these doubts and stuff now.
Well, dead's probably worse. Loyal might disagree.
Yeah, probably, but like, the torture part of it is what's worse. You're dead, you're gone, and there's reincarnations, so you can come back. And now you have to go your whole life with all these questions in your head.
I don't think I want to talk about the benefits of being dead. Let's okay, so they get to the other Waygate, but they're all being filled with bad thoughts. And then Nynaeve has her Gandalf on a bridge moment. It's a real you shall not pass kind of situation. She bursts up a huge bubble of light, and it keeps the Black Wind at bay while Moraine uses the one power to open the Waygate. But the only difference here being that Nynaeve did not fall into darkness afterwards. So there was that.
Yeah, but her yellow and green turned white. Just kidding, it did not.
I was going to say it did?
It did no.
What the fuck? Okay. Yeah, at this point it would not surprise me. But they get through the Waygate, and the bats don't follow them, and they make it to a desert, and there's a fortress of Valda off in the distance. So but they're only one day's walk from the Eye of the World, so it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, but now they go through the Blight, but...
Oh, they wouldn't have had to go through the Blight at all otherwise?
No.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking about the Blight, because that's an interesting topic when we see it at the end. Yeah. But let's get there. So they go into Valda. Everyone's really happy to see them. Dai Shan, which is what they keep calling Lan Mandragora.
It means Battle Lord.
I thought it meant Prince.
I mean, it's, well.
Some kind of loyalty.
I mean, it means Battle Lord.
Oh, fine. It means Battle Lord. He basically told us later it means Prince. I've got that in my notes.
Well, it means... okay, well, we'll talk about him in a little bit, yeah.
They get an audience with Lord Agelmar Jagad and his sister, Lady Amalisa. She is wearing all white and has a ring on her finger, but she is not an Aes Sedai, as it turns out.
She didn't make it. She wasn't able to make it.
How did she get a ring then?
Well, the ring didn't have a gemstone in it. So,
do you have to wear the ring?
It's like...
No.
Because, wouldn't she be ashamed?
I think it's like when you get to walk at graduation, but they don't give you a diploma because you flunked PE or something.
Yeah, I would be wearing that ring. This is my flunking ring.
Well, she can still channel. We'll see that in a minute. But first, Lord Agelmar's like, he's kind of a dick at first because Moraine's like, I just want to warn you. He's like, I know what you want to warn me about. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me, woman. He thinks it's about Blight and Trollocs and how blah, 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 but they're good at fighting the Blight and the Trollocs. But Moraine's like, no, dummy, the Dark One is using Waygates now. Wall that shit up before you have a huge army on your doorstep. And he apologizes. And they are now welcome to stay on Faldara. So that's cool.
And then we see right away Pat and Fane come through it.
Right. Now, I checked and checked and checked and checked. And when you hit pause on Amazon and it shows you who's in the scene, there was no point in that part where we see feet coming out of a waygate where Pat and Fane was listed as being in the scene. But he did appear later when Perrin actually sees him. But it certainly looks like Pat and Fane. Jennifer thought it was Matt at first, which something like the long coat and the skinniness,
cool.
like it could have been, but he had too nice of shoes.
Yeah, but see, here's the issue. Is he using the one power to open it, or do you find another way to open the gate?
Well, that's a good question, Kevin. I want to talk about that in a little while. Let's come back to Pat and Fane. But the fact that he came out of the waygate is pretty noteworthy, especially after Moraine just said, the Dark One's using waygates now. And that's the very next thing you see. But I want to talk about him in just a little bit. Lady Amelisa, Moraine, they're chit-chatting and how she was almost a nice but not quite. But Moraine wants to visit someone named Min, the Seer, and then also says, please have the Red Aja find Matt and keep him safe. So, I don't know why. Why would you? Because that's basically asking Leandrin to watch over a boy.
I'm not sure she wants him. I think she says that, but I'm sure she knows not going to keep him safe.
Well, what does she want to happen to Matt then? Does she want Leandrin to gentle him?
I don't know what she wants.
That's a bitch move. All right. Well, anyway, that's what happened.
She figures that the Red are the only ones who were going to take it serious.
Okay. So the whole party is on their way to a bar, but this is where the kids are talking amongst themselves, and then Perrin thinks he sees Pat and Fane. He's like, I could swear I just saw Pat and Fane walk by. and Nynaeve says, hey, dummy, Pat and Fane's dead. He was there on Beltane.
Yeah, well, so were they.
So were they, and so were a lot of other people. It's not like the town was completely cleared out.
Dad lived, right?
Tam, yeah, he lived. That old lady that Nynaeve refused to give water to, or Aguain refused to give water to, lived. Like, there were a bunch of people that were just injured and not consumed by the Trollocs. So Nynaeve is being kind of a dumbass, or maybe she's trying to protect Perrin?
Yeah, but how would he have found them is what her issue is.
Well,
if he was in Beltane and they traveled for months and then they took the waygates, which would take even more months. I mean, it's just... Well,
I don't know. He's a traveling merchant. He could do whatever he wants. But, well, I guess the amount of time is a good question. But, okay, so let's talk about Pat and Fane then.
Okay.
Now, you're saying there's other ways to open the waygates. All we saw in the show was channeling. But that, to me, then, that implied that he's a channeler. But...
Right.
He shows up at the Two Rivers, and the next day, the Trolloc army shows up. He can use waygates, and we know that the Trollocs are now going through waygates. So it feels like we are building up to a situation where Pat and Fane is, what did we call it? A dark friend? Is that the right word, Kevin?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems like Pat and Fane might turn out to be a dark friend. And he is actually a source of major trouble and will probably be some kind of boss fight in a future episode.
I don't know about all of that, but Dark Friend is a very good observation on him.
Which is too bad, because I liked him at first. Like, he's a smiley guy.
Well, a dark friend doesn't necessarily mean he's horrible.
Well, it means he's working for the Dark One, though.
Yes.
But he's a friend.
Well, so was Dana, the bar girl. And she was pretty hot, but also was going to get them all killed. So I don't know. What are you going to do? Right?
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
Politics, man.
I mean, we talked about him showing up at, in Tar Valon as well.
Oh, yes. And
I even sent you a picture.
I did. Yeah, right. You sent me a picture. So he was there at Tar Valon, but everybody else had traveled on foot. So there was nothing weird about him getting there. Physically getting there. It's just a question.
But then he shows up.
Was he there because he just travels around on a trade route, or was he following them because he's keeping track of the possible dragons? That's an interesting question.
Even in the first episode, he seemed very shifty when everyone shows up. Instead of him freaking out and running around, he kind of just backs out of the scene.
Yes, that's true. He did just back away, which I thought was interesting. Like all these but I wasn't expecting him to pick up a sword and fight. He's a merchant.
I would think if he's a merchant, a normal merchant, he would probably be running for his life, like any other person in that situation, not calmly backing away like, oh, hey, let me get out of this.
He was trying to be inconspicuous, Kevin. You move slowly so you don't attract their attention.
Okay, so again, if you are not used to seeing stuff like that, you're not going to have that in your mind. The fact that he can do that and think that way would tell you that he sees this a lot.
So basically, Paddon Fane is like the little old man from Squid Game. When everyone else started freaking out because they were getting shot, and then they panicked, and then they got shot more, and the old guy is just standing there giggling. That's Paddon Fane. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, Paddon Fane is the Dark One then, using that logic.
No.
Ooh, that'd be interesting. Okay. Anyway, so they go to a bar and Moraine meets Min the Seer. She seems like kind of a cool chick. I'd like to hang out with Min the Seer. She's pretty chill when she's
my favorite.
She's not being forced to see for people. She seems pretty chill.
Yes, she is.
Okay, so here's what we see. Perrin has yellow eyes and blood on his chin. All right, like a wolf, I guess. Mm-hmm. Rand is holding a baby, so he's not going to die anytime soon. At least not in the next episode. And then she said she looked at the girls, Aguain and Nynaeve, and saw a white flame and a ring of gold. But we didn't get to see which one was on which or have any idea what that might mean. So, yep. I have a feeling Kevin can't say anything right now, so I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
But they're all linked. Their patterns are all linked together, which is kind of weird and noteworthy, which goes back to that possibility of the many-headed dragon. And then also, by the way, the Amyrlin seat is going to be your downfall, Moraine.
Mm.
Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's Swan. She just said the Amyrlin seat. And we don't know which Amyrlin seat it is. Probably Leandrin. Okay. So later that day...
Well, wait a second.
What? Yes.
No. It's her lover. She's going to, betray her.
Well,
right, but she doesn't say you're being betrayed by Swan. She says you're being betrayed by the Amyrlin seat, which we found out is the title. So it could be actually anyone who becomes the Amyrlin seat could be the person that betrays her.
Right. If Swan gets murdered, which is how Moraine would get freed from her vow, as we now figured out. But if Swan were to get murdered or deposed in some fashion, then someone else is the Amyrlin seat, and that person might be Moraine's actual downfall.
Well, or it could be Swan.
Well, it could be.
It could be. You're right. I mean, it's just the things with these stupid, these visions and stuff. You never really know what is right. And
But importantly, babe, I guess maybe you're not the same, but I believe in romance. And Moraine and Swan clearly love each other. They would not be each other's downfall.
I don't know about that.
Well, we're going to find out.
Yes, we are.
Probably 4 seasons from now, but we're going to find out. Okay, so later on, Moraine comes to the kids and says, hey, we're going to the Eye tomorrow, and any of you that aren't really the dragon are going to be ground to dust, I believe was the word she used. And the kids are like, well, first of all, what if it's Matt and none of us? Then we're all going to get ground to dust for nothing. And then second of all, maybe we don't want to go. So there you go. And she's like, yeah, whatever. I'll see you tomorrow. So the kids discuss and they fight about whether or not they should go. And then they fight about Matt and whether or not anyone really likes him. And then they fight about whether or not anyone's in love with Aguain, because Rand definitely is. But then Nynaeve says that Perrin is, and Perrin's like, no, I'm not. And then it's just a whole big thing. So everyone hates each other for the moment. And they split off. So as evening falls, we get, first of all, a cute story involving Lan. He goes off to visit his old surrogate family that lives in the city. We get his backstory later. He was rescued by them, right? Or by the patriarch of that family. So he finds this little house in town.
He was like his...
What?
I mean, he was like his father's bannerman.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone that worked for his dad. Mm-hmm.
Right, because if you heard this, to pay attention to his story, he actually was a prince.
How dare you? Who was a prince? Lan was a prince.
Yeah, Lan. He was a prince.
That's what I said earlier, and you're like, well, it just means warlord.
Right, but it's a lot of people have that name, but the prince of that town, they're not sure if they really name everybody that because it was destroyed by the Blight. Yes. So there's not many records. So.
Okay. So Lamb visits this guy and his family. Nynaeve follows him, and it was still very unclear what happened. He's like, he obviously knows he's being followed, probably knows it's Nynaeve. He goes inside the house, starts having dinner, and then Nynaeve's like, oh, that's so cute. And then she turns around to leave, and he's there. I was like, what the fuck Batman shit is that? Like, he's just suddenly outside. But whatever. And then he invites her in, and then they all have a nice evening together, and it was very, very cute. And Nynaeve walks him home, and then they don't kiss, and then he goes inside, but then she comes in as he's undressing. Holy scars on his back, huh? Mm-hmm. Now, like, you're into this dude, babe, right? You're into this dude.
I'm not that into him.
No. You're into this dude, Mandragora.
Oh, I'm pretending I'm into this dude.
Right. Yeah, I'm putting you in Nynaeve's shoes. Or just in anyone's shoes. So you're into this dude. And he's like a badass fighter, and he's clearly like in awesome shape, and he's really cute, and you want to fuck him. At what point do you ask about all the scars all over his body?
At the moment I see them.
Really? Like before the fucking?
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck happened to you?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it depends on how... Never mind.
What?
It depends on how the whole evening goes.
He's got really nice abs.
Right.
But his shoulders and back are all fucked up.
Yeah. Depends.
Okay. I was just curious. I wanted the woman.
She might have already seen him, though. Remember, they traveled for over a month. I mean, they might not have like done anything, but she may have seen him getting dressed.
I suppose that's possible. Anyway, she didn't flinch, and they fuck. As you would do if you think you're going to die the next day. Meanwhile, Rand is doing some night shooting, and I mean, he's not a bad shot, but whatever. But then there's like this weird thing, and Jennifer, when we were watching, was even like, what the hell just happened? Like, it seemed like there was a hush and a wind, and maybe Rand was getting some kind of magical energy in him, but then he shoots his bow, and it's just as bad of a shot as all his other shots. So I don't know what that was.
Oh, he's taught a way of fighting where he like sees a flame, but they didn't do that. They didn't talk about that. So, I mean, he has to concentrate, basically. That's him trying to concentrate.
So in the books, did Tam legitimately teach Rand how to fight?
It's not Tam that gives him the training and what to use and stuff like that.
I feel like you shouldn't tell us what it is then, because
no, I'm not. That's why I stopped.
Okay. All right.
Stop asking questions.
Fuck. Okay. Aguain shows up, and then she and Rand talk about why she was mad and he was mad, and he's a scared little boy and whatever. But they make up. And they decide that if they survive the encounter at the Eye of the World, Egwene's going to go become an Aes Sedai, and Rand's going to be her warder, which is adorable. And then they fuck, as you're going to do when you think you're going to die the next day. Okay. So everyone's fucking except Perrin. Oh, poor Perrin. All right. That Nynaeve is putting on her clothes and redoing her braid, and then she wants the story of Dai Shin, and he says it means he's the prince of a place called Malkier, which no longer exists. It was taken by the Blight. And I'm looking forward to talking about the Blight, but that's like one more scene away. After the fucking, Rand is having some flashbacks to his dad and when he was poisoned, and he starts muttering about...
That's the fever dream I was talking about.
Yeah. He starts muttering about finding a baby, and it's so little. And then Rand is remembering times he's channeled. We see now the scene with him busting down the door, except this time he's got magic around him, and we see the volcano, and then we see him channeling the Trolloc off the edge of the thing to protect Aguain. So all those things happen, and then suddenly he's a master archer, and he's hitting a perfect bullseye every time.
Right, so I will answer your question now. Yes, his father did actually teach him, but like what
the
you
fuck?
don't
You
realize,
just said he didn't, but it was...
what I wanted to get through that part first, because this is when Rand decides that he is the dragon, right?
Right.
He comes to him and says, so this is why it was never a question in the books, because when he learning the fight and stuff like that, it's called the flame and the void technique, and he learns it from his father. And while he's in the void, he excels at archery, but it's really him using the one power.
Okay. All right. So Rand goes back to Min the Seer, and she explains his birth. It was the first vision she ever had, was seeing Tam al'Thor and the birthing scene and all that. And then he would go on to raise Rand and all that. But she is unclear about whether or not he will return from the Eye of the World. He asks, and she's just like walks away. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It just means she doesn't want to talk about it. I have a feeling Rand's going to survive this season 1, but we never know. Ned Stark didn't. Okay. And then finally, the next morning, everyone slowly meets up at Nynaeve's unused bedroom with her unused bed.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, Aguain gives her some shit for coming back and her doing the walk of shame, with her old clothes on. But they all decide they're going to go to the Eye. And then Lan shows up and says that he's been masked again, just like last episode. Funny how they introduce these concepts. And it turns out that's because Rand went directly to Moraine and said, I'm the dragon, I'm sure of it. And she just was like, okay, I take your word for it, buddy. And they leave just the two of them. I don't get it. Why would she? Is it just
the other ones are going to die? They're going to be in the way.
Well, right, but if he's wrong, then she's going to take him there, and he's just going to crumble the dust.
There's a lot going for him.
A lot of signs that he's really the dragon.
Yeah.
All right.
And the fact that he knows, I mean, it's he questions himself through the whole entire book, but like the fact that they put his friends in harm's way here means that he comes to it a lot sooner.
I see.
There's a lot of stuff that happens. It's really hard to explain, without all the because they're convinced it's him and they're actually training him. So Rand learned the Flame of the Void from his father, like we're talking about. But like when they are on their way, they're training. Lan is actually training him, and he's trying to teach all the other people that technique that Rand already knows, and he's surprised to learn it. And that's when you learn more about Tam being, being a blade master, because blade masters use that exact same thing that he used to hit the bullseye to like clear their minds when they fight during battles.
Gotcha.
So him trying to teach it and him already knowing it was like a big sign of, hey.
All right. Well, maybe he is the dragon. I'm still not willing to take it at face value that just because he says he's the dragon, he is the one and only dragon, but we'll see how things go. And then Moraine and Rand show up and at the Blight, and he's like, what's this? And she says, this is the Blight, and we have to get all the way through it to get to the Eye of the World. And what was it you said about the Blight, babe?
It looks like the brambles in Lion King.
Well, right, you said that, but then you were also like, why don't they just climb over it, I think.
Oh, right.
Were you saying that? Like they could just jump on top of the trees.
Like jump through each of the tops.
Right. My question to the people of, what was this town called? Faldara? My question to them would be, why not just like light it on fire? Because it looks very flammable. Just a lot of dry wood. But they don't. I don't know. I'm sure there's a good reason. So they have to get through the Blight. The Blight just looks like dead trees, but I'm sure there's something alive in it, right?
That's where all the Trollocs and Mandrel are from,
The Trollocs and the what?
The Fade.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah.
They live in the Blight?
Well, they don't. I mean, that's just where they come from.
Well, it certainly seems unlikely then that these two schmucks are going to be able to get through it by themselves. I mean, Moraine would have been dead for sure on Beltane if Lan hadn't been there slicing most of the Trollocs in half while she was slowly making rocks move. Come on. Right? Am I wrong?
She's not out living in the woods.
She's not a badass. But we'll see what happens. If Rand's the dragon, then he's going to be fated to make it through this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if he is, right? I mean,
Kevin doesn't want to say anything.
You saw Min's, view.
Right. He's holding a baby someday. So he's going to be all right. Okay. Woo. That's a long one. 2 more episodes down. We've got episode 8 to cover when next we talk. And somewhere in the middle of all that, there's going to be a little bit about The Witcher 2, just because we're going to have to get that off of our chests. So much more podcasting to come, ladies and or gentlemen. Thanks for joining us again, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Kevin, as you know, prefers to stay anonymous, except his name is Kevin. But if you ever want to reach out to me and Jennifer, you can find me at jeff@potofthrones.com for email or at Pot of Thrones on Twitter.
At KidFreeWeekend on Twitter or Jennifer@potofthrones.com.
There you go. So let us know, again, what you think, what you liked, what you hated. Are you into the books and you have problems with them too? Or do you like what they're doing for an adaptation? Or maybe some of each. So yeah, we can talk about all of that as we wrap up season 1 and begin the very long, painful wait for season 2 for Amazon Prime's The Wheel of Time. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Babe? The Wheel of Time keeps on... No, come on. I thought you were going to do it with me this time.
One of these days.
Okay,
Kevin?
next time.
Okay, next time. Fine. Bye.
Bye.